Welcome to Xero. Your business is better with Xero. I'm Hayley Barrett. I am a digital business advisor with Business Station. We operate in WA, the NT, and also in Queensland. And we work with small businesses right across the board on any topic related to being online, essentially. So whether it's you need help with websites, social media, business systems like Xero, what we'll be talking to you about today, anything along those lines, we have advisors right across Australia, essentially, that can help with that. Myself, I have a background mostly in web design and branding, and working with business systems to really streamline what you do online. I like Xero, and I'm here to talk about Xero today, not from an accounting perspective. I want to make that really clear. I'm not an accountant. But I have been using it as a small business owner and also setting up a number of clients with Xero as well. The reason that I like it is because of how it works with your other systems online. And we will be talking about that as well, but also how it automates a lot of the tasks that we have someone online here today who has said that they're currently using Excel still. So you'll see how using a system like Xero automates so much that requires your manual input at the moment. And anything that simplifies or creates efficiencies in our business is something that I think is remarkable, wonderful, and we need it. So yes, as I show you the system itself, how to use Xero, I just want you to remember that I'm coming from a small business owner perspective. Not from an accounting perspective. So if you want to talk to an accountant about how this applies to your business, then I definitely go ahead and do that. They'll know the financial and tax implications and things like that more than I do. All right, so the old familiar thing of sharing my screen, I will do that now. You should be able to see on your screen the Xero Dashboard. This is a demo company. So for those of you who haven't started using Xero yet, when you first set it up, it's free to set up. That's to start with. You get a 30-day trial. Sorry, I've got a fly floating around here. Yeah, it's free to set up with that 30-day trial, but it also comes with this demo company. And this basically allows you to explore all of Xero without actually putting in your own financial details. So you can see for yourself if it's something that you want to work with. All right, just bringing up my chat in case anyone does talk to me. So this here, as I said, it's exactly what your dashboard will look like when you go into Xero, when you actually set up your account. So you start off, we've got our business bank accounts here. These are all different tiles that they just allow us to see at a glance what's going on within Xero with our financials. So we've got here, this one here, this is our business bank account. And then we've got other things. I'll go into more detail in a moment. I'll just give an overview. We've got different things like our account watch list, so we can see at a glance how much money is going in or out of each of these different accounts. And we can set these up. And when I say accounts, these are chart of accounts. So this is where you allocate your income and expenses against. So we can see at a glance, one of the things that clearly we would want to see, I believe, is our sales coming in. So this is something that we can set up to see without having to go into too much detail to view it. We've got a couple of different bank accounts shown here. So there's that one. We've also got invoices owed to us. So if we are billing directly from Xero, some of you may be, some of you may not be. Some may have, taking credit card payments online, for instance, or you may be, you might be a retailer taking cash or FPOS at the counter. So the invoices owed to you may or may not be something you need to see there. But also bills you need to pay as well. So this is any expenses that you have, you can set those up so you can see any time of day what's going on. And then also your total cash in and cash out. So you can see this is a snapshot of the last 6 months. So you can see how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. Now, one of the key things that we all know with any business, and I think we all know it, but we tend to put it to the back burner, is we need to know where our money's at. You know, when we're running a business, it's so important that we know what's incoming and what's outgoing at all times. We want to know without having it in our head, but in like on paper, in real life, in real time, being able to see exactly the financial position of our business. I think it's absolutely integral. And when we can see it, it also takes out so much stress. Anyone, I'm sure you're familiar with the stress that you carry as a small business owner, you know, always thinking about the financials. So rather than having it sitting inside your head and not really knowing, just kind of guessing where you're at, and just being able to see it in real time, it allows you to be able to plan and forecast in your business as well. So this is something that I think is absolutely essential. If you're not doing it, definitely sit down to do it. Being able to forecast, so you can go, okay, I know how much money is coming in or how much money I anticipate coming in, and I know where I need to be at. So I can start making some changes or adaptations, or perhaps I need to do something else over here to ensure that I reach that target that I set. Or maybe we can see that our expenses are far greater than our income this month or something. So how can we alleviate that? Once we can see this, and as I said, we are seeing it in real time, well, virtually real time. It's a little bit delayed, I think a day behind. Because we can see that in real time, we can constantly make the changes that are necessary, adapt the plan to ensure that our books are balancing really, and we're alleviating any stress that we possibly can. So that's just my thoughts. Okay, let's look at the business bank account. So anyone who, and I'm going to pick on one of you who has mentioned that they're using Excel. Excel's fantastic. I don't disregard that at all, but it's very manual. So if you are currently using something like Excel, going to Xero or any online accounting system really, but we'll talk about Xero. What it does is it allows you to, everything that you're doing manually right now. So you'll have your bank statements that you need to view, and then you can put those into this Excel spreadsheet, and then you need to go through and reconcile against it. There's a lot of manual work involved. When you go into Xero, the first thing you'll do is set up your business bank accounts and business saving account. Whatever account you have that are related to your business, you can create a bank feed that goes directly between your bank and to Xero. So what we see here in this top left tile here, where it says business bank account reconcile 28 items. So this is, we'll click into it and I'll show you. This shows us all the transactions that have gone through our bank account. So it's a bank feed that's connected directly between the two. So I can see here every single transaction, incoming and outgoing as well. So you can see, I know that there's, you know, how much money is showing in the bank as well. So one of the things that's great about this is you're getting the real information coming through. So it takes away any of the manual work that you need to do to account for that. But also what it does is it allows you to reconcile as well. So we'll go in and reconcile these items now. So this is one of the things that, gosh, it just saves you so much time. So it's intuitive. Xero is quite intuitive. So what it does is it starts to recognize your transactions as well. And if you've put in your invoicing, if you're doing invoices, if you've put those in, or if you've put in your expenses as well, what it's going to do is when a payment comes in or a payment is spent, it recognizes who it goes against. So if you can see here, we've got Ridgeway University, we have received just over $6,000 from them. And we can see here we've got an invoice that was already created for Ridgeway University. So this amount here allocates to this amount here. The name, you can see it's the same. So it makes sense that, yes, this would go towards this invoice. So we just have to click OK, and that item is reconciled. So if you've ever sat down with spreadsheets or even older versions of MYOB, reconciling your accounts is such a tedious job. Some of us would get a bookkeeper to do it. Some of us would pay a lot for an accountant to do it. And some of us would do it ourselves just to save, paying for somebody else to do it. But it's just so time consuming. You can see here, it just alleviates all of that time. So again, we've got this amount here. We can see we've spent $1,100 with Truxton Property Management, and we can see there was a bill raised for Truxton Property Management of that exact amount. So it just automatically matches it to it. And then you can see we've got these other ones. So remember, this is a demo account, so you can get an idea of how to use it. But when you're doing this in your own account, it's going to look exactly the same. And the same thing will happen. It'll obviously take information from your bank feed and from the invoices and expenses that you've created. So here we've got a situation, we've spent $4,500 with Smart Agency, but we actually can't find anything there. So we can very easily just quickly, we know that, yes, we definitely did pay Smart Agency that amount. So we can very quickly just create that. And then you can go through here and say, yes, it was for advertising. You can give it a description if you want to. Paid for Google Ads. And there you go. So there's different options that you can do if you're working with somebody else. Perhaps you are working with a bookkeeper. One of the good things about Xero as well is that your accountant or your bookkeeper, if you have one, or anybody that you allocate, can access your account as well. So they can see if you've got an issue with something. So say you've got this invoice here for City Limousines. It's an old invoice. You don't know how to code it. You can just put that in the discussion box here. And then your bookkeeper or accountant will be able to just take care of that for you. So they can see exactly what you can see to make, to create that transparency, keeping it all, everyone on the same page. So you can see here, it's just, I can go through and click all of these, but it's the same thing. If we're unsure, we can go through and find and match. Perhaps we've got a fee that we're not familiar with. We can go through and see all of our expenses that we've raised and go, okay, we can find the one that it is allocated to. This is a bank feed, so we probably didn't create that for that one. Things like bank fees, they'll automatically be, it'll automatically recognize that as a bank fee as well. So it'll already show that up for you. So you can see just there very quickly that reconciling is just something that has become so much simpler. I had a guest on the last time I did this, this webinar, and they were an accountant, or they are an accountant, and she gets very excited about doing anything with numbers. So she was saying that she'll sit there of a morning while most people scroll Instagram or something like that before they get out of bed. She sits there and reconciles her account before she gets out of bed. So if you're that keen, you can do that. It's very simple. One of the other things about Xero is it's not just a desktop version. It does come with a mobile, oh, you can't see that, but a mobile app version as well. So you can do it on your phone as well. And you can also invoice on the go. So if you, which is really good for tradies or anyone who's out, contractors out in the field, you can actually raise invoices from your phone while you're out on the road and you've just completed the job. So that's, very quick look into how to reconcile. Let's have a quick look now at how to raise invoices. If you've got any questions about what I'm talking about, please put it in the chat box. I'm happy to answer it. All right, so we'll go into creating invoices here. So it's very easy to create. Before we set the invoice, you can go in and so it's already defaulted to Australian currency and Australian tax obligations. So it knows GST, it knows the amount. It's all set in Australian dollar, everything like that. But you can go in and make some adjustments if you so wish. And I just need to find out how to do that. Change the layout slightly. I can't see my settings. Hold on one moment. Here. So over here on the left-hand side, we can go down and we can click into settings. And here we can change our invoice settings if we wish to. So we have a standard layout, which is how Xero has preset it. You can create whatever theme you like tailored to your brand. You can upload your logo. So we can go in here to options, if you can see that where I'm clicking. And we can go to change logo. And if you've already got your logo saved onto your computer, obviously, you just click browse and upload that, and that will replace the demo company one there. We can also add in our company details or our business details. So we've got, this is a little bit weird to look at, but if you can see down here on the right-hand column, we can do a couple of things. We can change the alignment of the logo. Hang on, we've just got a question come through. If you're not registered for GST, can you set invoices up without GST? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, and that's where you would do this here. So I'll show you how to do that. So yeah, we can change the things like where our logo is aligned, and we can show. So you can see that's at the top right, and then underneath that we've got show taxes as exclusive or inclusive. So if you're not registered for GST, you don't want to include GST on that. So you'd say exclusive. And then you can go in and put your company details there as well. So that always comes up. We've also got, as we scroll down, terms and payment advice. So when paying by check, please complete this. So this is where you could put payment within 7 days, bank account details, things like that, if it's done by direct deposit. You do have the option with Xero, you can set up taking payment by credit card if that's something that you wish to do, or you can have it just direct debit. You'd have to use apps to set that up if you're going to do a direct debit, or you can do direct deposit as well. And you just put that in your terms and payment advice in this little field down here. So every single invoice, you don't have to recreate this information. It's already set up there. Let me just make sure. So we can show different things here as well. So if you're not registered for GST, you might want to remove the tax column, or you can add it if you need it. And you can choose to add the item code, show the tax number or not show it. You've got all these options here that you can set up as standard. We'll save that. You can also set up, one person has mentioned they have a number of different businesses they run. I'm not sure if you're running them all from the same Xero account, just with different revenue streams, or if you've got different Xero accounts for each. But if you do have maybe multiple revenue streams, you can set up different invoice, different invoice templates to suit each one. So then when you create the invoice for the person, so I don't know, what's an example? Let's say you might be demo accounting over here and demo bookkeeping over here. So you might just, they're all the same business, but you just want to separate them. So yeah, you'd have the demo accounting invoice template and then the demo bookkeeping template as well. So when you're creating the invoice, you just need to select which one you wish to use, and then it just automatically adds it to that for you. So we'll go back now to adding that invoice. So we can click the little plus button up in the top right-hand corner. When we do that, we can create invoicing, bills, contacts, quotes, any of these things that we wish to do. As a business owner, you're probably ever going to use the first 3 or 4, unless you are still using purchase orders, you might use that as well. So let's create your invoice. So we've got, this is all very straightforward. You put your contact in. If you've already got contact set up, as soon as you start typing, it'll automatically bring up whoever's under that letter in the alphabet. So let's just say this is going to ABC Furniture. It's today's date. You can set the due date. You can also set up, if you want, if you've got, say, 30-day trading terms or something, you can set that up as well. So it will always be due within 30 days. So let's just say I want the 23rd. You can create your invoice number. If it's reference to something, you can add that in as well. Here where we've got branding, this is where we can select which invoice template that we wish to use. So we just change it to special projects. As you can see, it's already set up in Australian dollar. Here, this is probably where you would change this for the person not registered for GST to no tax. Or you can make it tax inclusive or tax exclusive as well. Because I created it tax exclusive in the theme setup, that's what will automatically come up. But if I did want to change it, I can override it in creating the invoice. Here, so then we go down to create the invoice. We've got our item numbers here as well. So this is another thing that it does to help streamline your workflow. So you can create different item numbers. So depending on your service or products that you sell, everything has an item code. So it's just automatically allocated. You don't have to. So you can see at a glance again, and I'll show you how to view this in reports. You can see, you know, what work is generating the most income, which is, I think, is really useful information to have. So let's just say we're doing development work. I'm now a web designer again. And as soon as I do that, it automatically inputs the description that we've already set up for it. So I don't have to go in and type that out every time I do an invoice. I've just done one of them. It creates the unit price. If this is my standard unit price, I've already set that up. So I don't have to worry about retyping any of this. And it automatically allocates it to the account that I've set it to go to. So I haven't had to put any information in except the item code, and all of that information is automatically added. So I don't know if anyone's creates invoices. For myself personally, doing quotes and doing invoices is just, admin work is not something that comes naturally to me. So anything that makes that easier, I'm all for it. The idea of having to sit down and just, I don't know what it is, it just doesn't work with the way that I operate, my operating system. So yeah, so I love that you just put the code in and there it is. All the information's there. I don't have to, whoops, what have I done here? I've just expanded my chat box. I'll minimize that. So yeah, so that's all there. And then if I'm happy with it, I can just approve it. If I need to add any more in, I can do that. So we click approve. and then I can email it to whoever my customer or client is. And you can see it already comes with a preset subject and message as well. You can change that message if you like to be more personal to you. And you can change the subject line if you want to as well. Otherwise, you can just keep it as it is, include the PDF attachment if you wish, mark as sent and click send, and away it goes. So your customer will see that. And you'll be able to see also if they've opened it, which is pretty good as well, especially when they say, oh, I didn't receive it. You can say, well, actually, I can see that you did. Once you've received payment for it, you can just go into the invoice and say that, yes, that's been paid. You've got your business accounts that it's been paid to. You can give it a reference if you want, and you add the payment, and then it's all set, it's done. So you can see how really simple that is to create invoices. And then when we go to reconcile, that will show up. We'll go back. I don't know if it'll show up in this. No, it normally takes the 24 hours to show, and it might not show in the demo company anyhow. So that's creating your invoices, and the same rule applies for creating your bills as well. So you can go in and create your bills. So when you actually have to pay it, you've got this to allocate against, and you can see that it's exactly the same kind of thing. It's just outgoing money instead of incoming money. All right, let's look at the next thing I want to show you is setting up your chart of accounts. And I think this is something that is useful as well for every business to somewhat tailor towards their own operations. So the standard that it comes set up with is, well, I'll show you here first. Let's just look at our profit and loss for a moment. I'm going to talk more about the reports in a second, but for now, I just want to show you the different accounts that show up. So you can see we've got our trading income, which is just sales. We've got cost of sales. So we've got the purchases chart of account there. And then we've got down here our operating expenses, so advertising, bank fees, cleaning, consulting, etc., things like those. So this is where I would tailor your chart of accounts to suit your type of business. You don't need every single one shown, and you want to make sure that you're allocating, when you're recording them or reconciling, you want to make sure that it's being allocated to the right account. Simply from my perspective, for reporting reasons. I like to know how much money is being spent on each area, because if there is if you do need to do some cost savings, you want to be able to sit down and look at the reports and go, okay, this is where I'm spending a lot of money. If we have a look at this chart of accounts, we've got $4,000 in advertising fees and also $4,000 in legal expenses. So if we were looking to do some cost cuttings, we could go, okay, there's a lot of money being spent there. What is our return on investment for the amount of money that we're spending? So you can see if it's a worthwhile expense, if it's something that is absolutely necessary and it has generated income, or if it's something that perhaps you could do without. So making sure that you're allocating your expenses and even your sales to the right accounts really helps you get a clear picture of that at any time as well. So it's not something that this is another thing that I love about Xero, is it puts us in the driver's seat. We're not getting to the end of the year and looking back and going, oh, wow, we spent a lot of money last year, or wow, we didn't make quite as much as we thought we did. It allows us to be able to, as I said earlier, to forecast and plan and have a really good idea of where we're sitting financially, any given moment of the day, any given day of the week. Okay, so if we go to our chart of accounts, so that gives you a snapshot of what they are, what's being used. And then we can go down, we can go through here and set, and there's a million of them. Well, not quite a million, but it feels like it. You've got all these different accounts that you can decide, yes, I want to keep using those, or no, I don't actually need those. Some are locked because they're necessary, but some you can change, or you can choose whether you're going to use them or not. I don't think you need to make too many changes, just making sure you're allocating to the ones that you want. The one where I would generally add some additional charts is with your sales. And this is especially important if you've got different variations of your service. That's where I think this is fantastic. And it's, as I said before as well, it does allow you to see at a glance what revenue stream or what service is actually generating the most income for the business. So as I said, I do web design. Within web design, I can do branding, logo design, content creation, e-commerce websites. So there's various different products or within the service that I offer. So you can see that by actually creating those different accounts, and then when the invoice is raised, I can allocate it against those different ones. So every week I can go, okay, well, e-commerce websites is actually generating the most revenue for me. Maybe I want to focus more on that. So that's where I would break down the sales, as I said, into those different streams. So it just gives you more of a detailed view of that, where that money's coming in and out from. If you do want to add a new chart of account, you can go in here and create it. So we've got our account type. It's going to be sales or revenue. We'll put it down as sales. Maybe I want it to be e-com website. I can give it whatever code I wish. And then I can say it's e-commerce websites. If I want to give an additional description, I can do that. I can choose whether I'm whether this is going to include GST or not, or BAS excluded if I wasn't registered. I can add it to my dashboard watch list if I like. So as you saw at the start on our dashboard, we had those different accounts that we could see. So yeah, I want to be able to see this. This is really important to me. I can enable payments to this account and showing expense claims, etc. There you go. Save that. And now I have my new chart of account. So every time I want to do my e-commerce website invoicing, it's automatically allocated to that account. So that's a very, very straightforward way of being able to see what's going on with your incoming and outgoing. There's some there that you will keep as standard, like your business bank account, etc. Your advertising, maybe you use that, maybe you don't. You'll have to go through and see for yourself, for your business, what's relevant to you and what's not. But just making sure you've got a really good idea of what those accounts are that you're using, and making sure you're using them on the regular. And every time, if it's an expense, for example, say it's an office expense, if you've got, we would have in here, so see we've got office expenses, we've got printing and stationery, things like that. So this is where it's really important for you that you know which one you allocate your different expenses to. Your office expenses are generally the day-to-day running of the business office, and then your printing and stationery could be well, you're obviously getting things printed, etc. But some people would incorporate the two together. So rather than having the two separate accounts, they run it all under office expenses. So you decide whether you're doing that yourself, and make sure that when the bill does come in, that you're definitely allocating it to that right account. Otherwise, that's when it gets messy, because you've got things allocated to areas where they shouldn't be, or they're not generally used, and it becomes hard or more difficult to read your accounts. Now, let's have a look at when we get that right, why it's important. So as I said, we don't have to wait to the end of the year or when we sit down with our accountant to see what's happened with our finances. When we set this up correctly and work it properly, what we can do is pull these reports that once upon a time we did rely on the accountant to pull for us. We can pull these reports and go through them ourselves so we can see in real time what's happening. So there's a number of different reports that you can bring up. One of the good ones, I think, is the profit and loss. So we did have a quick look at it a minute ago, but you can see here, so this is set for the month of February. I can adjust the date range on that. I can see the last quarter, the last financial year. I can do month to date, quarter to date, year to date, whatever reporting period I want to look at, I can do so. So let's just say I want to look at the last quarter. I can compare it with the same period last year. And we can see, so you've got here, I've got January to March 2022 and October to December 2021. So I can see my sales for January were higher than the December quarter. That's fantastic. It's good to be on the trajectory up. I can see my cost of sales. So perhaps, you know, if you've got contractors, for example, or you need to pay a wholesale price for different products, you can put those in there as well. So you can see how much, okay, you've made this amount. This is how much it's cost you to actually make those sales. So this is your gross profit off that. So you get a really clear picture of exactly where you're at. If you have any other income coming in, so maybe like rental or things like that, you can add that into here as well. And you'll see that there as well. We then go through making sure that we've set our chart of accounts up correctly and allocated our payments against them correctly. We can see what we're spending our money on. So like we said, advertising was pretty high for that quarter. So this is where I was saying how we get a really good view of what's going on. So I can go, okay, I would look at this and go, okay, so I've spent $6,500 nearly on advertising compared to $1,800 on advertising the previous quarter. And that $6,500 has given me an increase of $7,000 revenue. So that's when you start going, was that money well spent? Because it's given, I've only really made an additional $1,000 based on that. Whereas here I've spent only $1,830 and made nearly $24,000. So that's where, this is where I like Xero, because you start looking at it in that way going, okay, you're making real decisions that are beneficial for your business. You know, you're not just making things up, or it's not guesswork. You can see exactly what's happening. We can then go down further and look at our different accounts and go, okay, we had that really high legal expense there, which is going to hit us pretty hard. That's not a normal thing. The previous month we didn't have any legal expenses. So maybe we can try to alleviate that in the future. Rent, we can see, you know, that's a pretty high cost. Is that, oops, I've clicked into it, sorry. Rent's a bit of a fixed fee. You can't really get around it unless you find a cheaper premise or you purchase the, yeah, sorry, it's taking a moment. When you click too fast, the computer can't keep up. Okay, so we can see, yeah, how much we're spending on these things, also wages and salaries. So if you do have payroll, you can set that up within here as well. So you can see at any given time how much money you're spending on your team to run your business. So that's a really great report, I believe. That's one that I would look at all the time. You may want to look at your balance sheet as well. The other thing that you can do with Xero, if you've ever done your BAS yourself, again, it's another thing that can be really time consuming, especially if you're using Excel spreadsheets. I remember, I don't even know how long ago it was now, quite a while. I'm sure it was early 2000s. I remember every time the quarter rolled around, most business owners, you wouldn't see them for a week. They'd be buried somewhere in a dark office. I'm sure it was dark. It was always dark and dingy. And just going through all their invoices, all their receipts, you know, all their going through their spreadsheets, going through their old MYOB thing, and just consumed with doing the BAS. Like, that is just a 2-minute job now, literally a 2-minute job. This is obviously pending that you're keeping up to date with your books and you're reconciling like we showed you to. And then you can go in and we can see, so to our activity statement. So you can just go through and go, okay, well, I want to do the simple BAS, which you would do if your turnover is less than 10 million. If it's more than that, then go you. And then we can set up, so we want to do this quarterly, what our accounting method is. This is where you need to talk to your accountant to determine which is the best option for you. Set all of these based on, again, what is the best option for your business, whether it's none, monthly or quarterly, your income tax method for PAYG. If you've got these additional obligations, fuel tax credits, etc., you can add those in as well. But if we just keep the simple one, which most of us would use what's already preset there, we can save and continue that. Okay, sorry, just this one caught me by surprise. So it tells you late transactions are now automatically included in your BAS. Great. Okay, and then we go to our activity statement. And we can choose our reporting period. I don't know, let's say I want to do September 2021. It's all here for us. Which if you had that all filled out, it would automatically unified amounts is unavailable. So yeah, so when it was set up properly with your account, this would be pre-filled for you. You just have to put in, make some adjustments. So you can see there though, like it would take less than 2 minutes to be able to do your activity statement. Another thing that we can look at is our short-term cash flow. This is another report that I think is quite useful. We can include whichever bank accounts we want. I would probably want to include all of them that were relevant to my business, and I can do the next 7 days or the next 30 days. So this is when we're talking about forecasting, we can get a really good glance at this through this report here. So you can see we've got our graph here that shows us the trajectory we're on, based on, and this is based on the information that we've given Xero, obviously. So as long as we're giving correct information, this will be a correct forecast. So it tells us that we have just over 18,000 owed to us currently, and we've got just over $6,000 bills to pay, and gives us an idea of what the projected end balance is. And this is where we can go, okay, what can we change here? If we want to increase this projected end balance, what can we change? We can't change the number of bills we have to pay but we can change the number of invoices owed to us. So perhaps we need to make some additional sales or something. We can plan based on this information that's in front of us. And it also, we can go down and look at it in more detail, so it can shows us where that money is coming from, who is owing money. Or we can change it to summary view or table view. So we've got we know exactly what's going on. Takes all the guesswork out of it. And then it also gives some recommendations as well. We've got a couple of invoices that are overdue, so perhaps we could get those sorted. We've also got a couple of overdue bills, which are just, maybe they're accruing as we're going. So perhaps we could get those paid so we're not getting charged interest or overdue amounts added to them. So that's a really great forecasting tool, the cash flow projection. So you can use that as well. We're not going to go into payroll or things like that in this session because that's more advanced if you do have staff and you need to pay for those. But if that's something that is important to you, let us know and I'm happy to talk to you about it. But as you can see, that was a really high level look at using Xero, not webinars, for your business, how it can help streamline it. The other thing that I really love about it, as I said, is the integrations that it has with the different systems that you would use. So if you have a website and you perhaps take bookings through that website, you can connect Xero to the site. So when perhaps, you know, you have a booking form or something like that and people put in their details, contact details, that can automatically be stored into Xero. So rather than you having to go in and manually add a contact, the contact is already created for you from the customer end when they've made that inquiry. Same applies if you have used CRMs. You can link Xero to it as well, so that information is fed through directly from there as well. The other thing you can do with Xero is, like I said, you know, traditionally we've had shoeboxes full of receipts receipts. So we can keep on top of our expenses. Another little trick that Xero has is HubDoc. So what this does is allows you can take a photo of your receipt. So say you've just purchased fuel, you can take a photo of your fuel receipt, throw the fuel receipt out, and then this will just send it straight to Xero for you. So it's automatically stored there as well. So then you can easily reconcile against that. You're not having to have that manual input. So you can see just with those few tools, and there's so many more tools that Xero has that it integrates with as well. It's extensive, but just to keep it really simple, those few things there. So using HubDoc, connecting to your website at a minimum can save so much time as well and automate so much for you as well. So that's a very quick summary of using Xero. For those of you who are here live with me at the moment, do you have any questions that you'd like me to answer before we go? There's a few different pricing plans for Xero. Which ones do you recommend? There are. So depending on, well, there's two things. So if you set this up yourself, so we have these three different options that you can see, the starter, the most popular, and the premium. So this will depend on, you're probably unless you have staff, you're probably going to be choosing between the starter and the standard plan. The difference really is how many invoices you can send and how many bills that you can put in as well. That's the main difference. So on the starter plan, you've got up to 20 invoices and quotes and only 5 bills. On the standard plan, you get unlimited invoices and quotes and as many bills as you need to. So that's the main difference. There's a few extra features as well that you may or may not need to use in your business. So you can see here, like bulk reconciling transactions. You probably don't need that if you're doing less than 20 invoices, so it doesn't really matter. And if you want to automate your superannuation or use multiple currencies, you'll need the more advanced plan. But if it's just really quite simple, it will be between the starter or standard. And it really is, I would suggest, just the number of, hold on, we've got more questions coming up. Okay, so yeah, it's really about that, depending on your invoices, your number of invoices that you're going to be sending, that will determine that for you. So if you're just starting out and you've got less than 20 clients, or maybe you only invoice once a month or something like that, you may only need to go with the starter plan. And then if you need to increase, you can increase at any time. And if you need to decrease, you know, if you start off with the standard and then find you're actually only doing less than 20, you can go back to the starter plan as well. So you can change it at any point. What's this question? We've got only 5 bills you can still receive or spend cash, just can't. That's correct. So the question was, with the only 5 bills you can still receive or spend cash, you just can't enter them as bills. That's correct. But if you're not entering them as bills, then you're not reconciling correctly. So you're not getting that real time picture that we talked about. If you do have an accountant and your accountant uses Xero, you can ask them to set it up for you. And accountants generally get a discount fee for the first 6 months as well. So by going through them, I think it's 40% at the moment. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is. So if you're using an accountant, perhaps get them to set it up. Danielle has asked, what point do you set up your accounting system? Before you start, or can you do it retrospectively? You can do it at any point, but if you do it after you've started, then it gets a little bit technical, making sure you're allocating the expenses that you've already incurred in setting up the business. So you'd prefer to do it, I would suggest, before you start. It just makes it easier. Now, before I lost internet, there was another question, I think, and I might have missed some. So let me know if you need me to answer some that I haven't touched on. One of the other questions was, how do you see what apps integrate? So let's see here. I don't know if that's. So we've got the oops. Let's not press too many buttons. The computer won't keep up. We've got the Xero app marketplace. So we go to apps.xero.com. And this is where we can see all the different apps that we can use with Xero. So as you scroll down, you can see we've got staff picks, just don't worry about that. Go below that. And it's set up into different categories. So we've got, if you're doing invoicing and job management, these are the different apps that they use. We then have, if we're taking payments, so we've got all the different apps associated with that. If we're managing payroll, inventory, CRMs, you can go down, you can see the whole list. Now, there's a lot to choose from if you're doing this yourself and you're just like, whoa, what do I want to do? I would sit down and think about how you're setting up your systems, what information you need to capture, or what information you need to automate even. And so we could look at, okay, perhaps, so if we look at the invoicing and jobs, this ServiceMate app, really, really good for tradie businesses. Practice Ignition, this is something that does, it's used often by, it's like a practice manager, it's used often by accountants, so you can manage all your proposals, all the different documentation that they need to send out can all be sent through there. And then you've got Workflowmax also, which is another product which is owned by Xero as well, which is really good for managing workflow. So you, without having to go through and look at every single one of the apps, you can see at a glance what each one kind of does. and you can start from there. Or you can talk to someone like myself, who's a digital advisor, and we can help you map out the different apps that you would need to manage your business. And it's all going to vary depending on the way that you like to operate, but also what information you need to capture, what you need to systemize as well, what you need to automate, those things. One of the other questions, if you are taking payments through PayPal, they will send them straight to Xero. Is that correct? That's correct, yes. So you need to set up your payment account, you create the integration with Xero, and then that payment will go straight through. There's a lot there. So definitely I recommend, if you're thinking about it, if you haven't got systems in your business already and you are thinking about doing it, so you don't get overwhelmed. Once the systems are set up, they're fantastic. And they really do automate your business and make it so seamless. But it's the setting them up, choosing the correct one and setting them up that can be really time consuming. And where a lot of people get overwhelmed by it and lost in it and then just end up going back to their Excel spreadsheet. So definitely I recommend talking to someone like myself who is a digital advisor. If you're not already on the Business Station Digital Solutions Program that we offer, it's $44. It's subsidised by the federal government, so it's a pretty good deal. And you can get access to one of our advisors where we can go through this with you. We can create a bit of a roadmap of what you'll need for your business and show you the required apps that will work for that. What it doesn't have here is the different websites. I don't think it has the different website platforms that it integrates with. It typically will integrate with WordPress, Shopify. If you're using Wix or one of those ones as well, there are integrations for that as well, but they all slightly vary depending on the web's platform, on what information that it will pull from your website and take to Xero. So that there is our business is better with Xero. If you've got any other questions, please shoot them through now before we close off. Otherwise, I will leave it there for you. Thank you for bearing through my internet issue. And yeah, keep an eye out on the Business Station website. We've got a number of webinars and workshops even where we go into more detail on some of these topics that we cover. And if you do want to talk about your business individually, feel free to reach out. My email is Hayley, Hayley, @businessstation.com.au. I'm happy to answer any questions or to talk to you about how this relates to your business. So thank you all for joining me live. Great to talk to you all, and we'll see you next time with the next webinar. Take care.